So again, I'd like to welcome you to today's webinar titled Salesforce for Streamlined Event Registration. And our presenter today is Richard Cunningham, who is the founder of Blendery, Inc., which integrates online services like Acteva with Salesforce to provide solutions for Salesforce customers. And Richard has actually managed the development of ActevaRSVP, which he will be discussing today. So with that, I turn it over to Richard.
Thank you, Darina. I appreciate that. And I appreciate everybody taking the time today for this webinar. I want to start out with who we are and go through the ActevaRSVP product and intend to leave a sufficient time at the end for questions. So feel free to put your questions in and we'll try to get them answered for you. First, for those of you who don't know, I'd like to introduce Acteva. Oh, here we go. Here we go. I'd like to introduce Acteva. Acteva started in 1998 providing an online event registration service. We've since built on that to handle sophisticated events and recurring classes. Today, we're going to focus on how Acteva's attendee relationship management integrates with Salesforce's customer relationship management. So we're going to focus on the product ActevaRSVP3. It makes it easy for Salesforce users to invite contacts and leads to events. And that's kind of the obvious thing to think about when you're integrating Salesforce with an event registration system is to make that process easy, and we'll show you that later on in the presentation. But the real payoff is the ability to track invitation, registration, and attendance status in Salesforce as well. And that's what we mean by two-way synchronization of Salesforce and Acteva Online registration, the system A3. And A3 stands for Acteva Advanced Architecture. It's our latest flagship product. ActevaRSVP started in 2007 as a simple RSVP system like an eVite for Salesforce. And customers like the simplicity, but one of the capabilities we offered in Acteva's advanced architecture, namely payments, more customization capabilities, and hosting series of events. And so what we've done is we've combined those products to give you the best of both worlds, to give you all our advanced capabilities, all of Acteva's advanced capabilities integrated in with Salesforce. Here's a list of a few of our customers, our most visible customers. Corporate customers like Bombardier, Quest, Manpower, and Delta use ActevaRSVP for training and customer seminars. Xavier University uses it for class registration, and they track their class registrations in Salesforce. The Center for Global Development is a nonprofit based in Washington, D.C., and they use ActevaRSVP to register people for their high-profile events. ActevaRSVP3 provides seamless integration with Salesforce. First, we provide a simple Salesforce app to manage invitee lists and report on invitee or registrant status. And you can see here on the left side, we have the Acteva Manager. That's a tab in Salesforce. It's very simple. You can just create a new invitee list or choose one to update. On the right side of the slide, we show the different ways you can add invitees to your event. And we'll get into this more a little bit later. Most customers choose the third option of selecting and adding campaign members, and we'll get into why that is. But you can also search. The fourth option is you can search contacts and leads to add to the invitee list. And you can also select and add contacts or leads, and we'll go into that in a little bit more detail here. So what we have here is the add invitees, where you've chosen to select and add contacts. And what we show here is a list of criteria. It's very similar to adding contacts to a Salesforce campaign. You can combine criteria. You notice there's a button that says Add Criteria Row. So you can actually add criteria to narrow down the list to meet your needs. For example, you could set up a range of postal codes this way. So if you just want to invite people within a certain region, you could invite people with greater than or less than and equal to a postal code. Okay, you can additionally specify here, say, look only in my contacts. So you can basically invite only your contacts. So for example, a sales rep just wants to invite his or her contacts to an event, they can do it that way. And selecting leads works exactly the same way. In other words, you can specify as many criteria as you want based on values of fields. The only thing different is the values. The fields are different in the leads than they are in the contacts. And you can have both contacts and leads in an invitee list. As I mentioned earlier, the most common way people add invitees to an event is by selecting and adding campaign members. Here, for example, we've chosen the campaign Acteva at Dreamforce 2011. That's the easiest way to invite people. You just choose the campaign. And a campaign, as you may know, you can populate a campaign from a Salesforce report. And this is one of the advantages of using the campaign. Also, another advantage is you can manage campaign members to determine who you want to invite. So you may invite everybody from an account, but maybe take some people out if you want to. And just basically have everything set up in advance. So all you have to do at this point is just select the campaign. And you have an option here called Link this campaign to selected email list. What that does a couple of things for you. One is it adds new members to the list when you add them to the campaign. So all you have to do is when you want to add people to the list is simply add them to the campaign, and ActevaRSVP automatically puts them on the invitee list. So all you have to do is manage the campaign, and that's one half of the two-way synchronization. More importantly, linking a campaign to the list also updates their campaign member status with invitation and registration status from the registration activity. So, for example, if you if you send an invitation to a campaign member in a linked campaign, their status automatically changes. Their campaign member status automatically changes to invited, and when they register, their status automatically changes to completed. That is, they've completed their registration. And we'll get into that more a little bit later. Like here's a report, a campaign member by status report. This is just a campaign member report. It's been customized a little bit to show the group by campaigns and by status. And so you can see here what the events are. We've selected a couple of events here, and we can see how many people have which status. And it's just done by a standard campaign status report. Somebody running this report doesn't have to know anything about Acteva. It's very simple. If you want, we've got the details hidden here, but you can show details to see exactly who falls under each status as well. Also, you could customize this report. You could customize the details in this report to link to the individual contact or lead in the details. And so you could see more about an individual person's participation in the event. For example, here we're looking at a contact named Leanne Tomlin. And what ActevaRSVP does is it includes a section, a related list under the contact record called Acteva Summaries. The list shows one line per an event with the status and the amounts paid. It's similar to the campaign history, but it's focused on your events that you're hosting through Acteva. Here we can see that Leanne Tomlin registered for 3 events and was invited to a 4th. So she has 3 completed statuses, and she was invited to the 4th. So we can see that, well, maybe she's not as interested in social media as she is in these other events, because she didn't respond to her invitation for social media, but she completed registration for the other events. Another feature is we have detail links over here where you can zoom in, drill down, and get more details about a specific participation. So what we're going to do is show what happens if you click on a detail link. You get the Acteva summary detail. This shows her participation in Acteva Dreamforce. So basically the top of this page is a recap of the summary information that we saw on the previous page. But now we see here more details about Leanne's participation in this event. For example, we can see that on September 27th, she completed her registration. And then we have another related list under here called Acteva Answers. And this could be very useful about finding out more about what your participants want from their event. Like, for example, here we've asked her, what kind of events do you primarily have? And she answered promotional seminars. And we asked, how did you hear about this event? She said, through a friend. And we asked, what kind of ActevaRSVP benefits do you need? And she said, streamlining the sign-up process. So you're not only just tracking somebody's status as they go through the registration process, not only tracking their status in Salesforce, but you're finding out more about them in Salesforce as well.
Richard, I'm sorry, I don't mean to interrupt you, but I just wanted to let you know that the slides are moving a little bit slower than you're speaking. I think there's a little bit of a delay. So when you switch slides, just
let's try to switch it advanced. Okay.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Also, there's another related list called Acteva Transactions, and that is that shows payments for the event, and it includes also a link to an Acteva page with details about the order. Now, also the Acteva Advanced Architecture enables you to set up related events. That is something like a breakout session, or an optional activity that goes along with the event. Like here we have the Salesforce Foundation kickoff. And you can track that as well in Salesforce. We also include ready-made reports with ActevaRSVP. You can use these reports as out of the box, or you can customize them. Also, we include report types that you can combine contact and lead details with Acteva summary and details to get exactly the information that you need. Here we're showing a few sample reports, like Acteva summaries by event. This basically groups participants by event so you can see who's coming to which event. And of course, you can use the Salesforce reporting capabilities to drill down and just see one event. You can hide details if you just want to see summary information, and you can group by status if you want to do that. Now, what some customers have asked for is they not only just want to see who's coming, but they want all their contact information that they have in Salesforce. For example, we've had a customer who says, I want to be able to contact, that is, call by phone, everybody who's registered for my event. And I want to have all their phone numbers on the report, so I can call their office, home, mobile, all the numbers that we have for them. And so we've created a couple of reports with contact details and lead details, so you can put whatever lead information you want or contact information you want onto the report. Also, somebody may have a custom field on a contact or lead indicating they're a VIP, and they may want to select just the VIPs to call and welcome them to the event, or if they've attended the event, thank them for coming. Now, in a previous slide, we covered the Acteva answers, the answers to questions, and that was great for an individual. We could see what Leanne Tomlin answered when she registered for the event. But oftentimes you have selections of different things like, what would you like to eat, or would you like to go to the golf tournament, where you want to count up how many people are going or selecting a meal or going to an optional activity or anything like that. So we have an Acteva summary report. Again, it's just a familiar Salesforce report. And for example, here we can see how many people heard about the Acteva Dreamforce event through a coworker. For example, in this report right here. Let's see if I can turn on the little laser pointer here. In this report right here, we can see that 4 people heard about the event through a coworker. And then we can see that 9 people heard about it through a friend. So you can get a lot of detail about the registration process, but using the familiar Salesforce user interface. You can take that one step further by using a dashboard. If you're familiar with Salesforce dashboards, they give you a good visual overview of what's going on with your event. So for example, here we have a dashboard that shows a summary of invitees, just an invitee count by event for all the different events we're holding here. We can also have like a summary breakdown. Here we're showing this in a pie chart. Also, if you're taking payments for an event, we can show it. We can tally those payments through the Acteva transaction records. We can total those up and show you here on a gauge how you're doing with the event payments. So just another way of showing you in the familiar Salesforce way how it's working with how your event registration is going. Okay. What I'd like to do now is go into a demonstration of the registration process. We've been talking about the registration process, and we've been seeing the results in Salesforce. But now I'd like to make that a little bit more concrete by showing you what the registration process looks like. So I'm going to switch over to my email system here. Here, this may take a while to come up, I'm looking at an email invitation that was sent to us from Acteva. So now I'm playing the role of an invitee. Perhaps I was put into a campaign in Salesforce, and somebody sent me out an email invitation saying, please come to our event about using social media to gain new customers. So this is the invitation that I see in my inbox. And in the middle of it, I have a link that says register now. And if I click on that link, it opens up a page. This is a registration page, and we've made it somewhat simple for the purpose of the demonstration. You can add a lot of options to this page where you can put like graphics in the details, have a lot of different options here. But a main advantage here is, notice my information is already filled in for me here. And this is the information that came out of Salesforce. When you select it, add contacts or add people from a campaign, this is where that information comes from. And in general, ActevaRSVP3 sees Salesforce as a system of record for contact and lead information. Now, before I'd also mention the Acteva answers, this is how the answers come about, is you can add participant questions to the registration page. So for example, I'm asking the question, what social media do you use for marketing? Well, I'll answer that question with Facebook and LinkedIn. Okay. Another question is, what social media do you use for marketing? And I'm going to add Google+. And so I can, in other words, I can answer an open-ended question like, I can put in possibilities, but if there's an other alternative, I can add that to an open-ended question. That can be any text that you want. And then finally, there's the question, how did I hear about this event? We saw some answer before, friend, co-worker. I'll say social media, just to stay with the theme here. So all I had to do as an invitee was verify my information is correct, answer a few questions, and then I just click the continue button, and I'm good to go. And I get an acknowledgement page here, an order receipt. Now, if I had taken payments here, I could ask for credit card information as well and take a payment for this event. That would show up as an Acteva transaction. Okay, so that's my role as an invitee. Now, as an event organizer or just any Salesforce user, I've registered myself for this event, Richard Cunningham. Now what I'm doing here is I'm switching over to Salesforce and bringing up my contact page. And what I'm going to do is reload my contact page here. And if you'll notice here, it says on November 9th at 11:20, which is the current time, I completed my registration for the social media webinar. This is the registration process I just went through. So let's drill down and get some more details on that. Okay, those details are coming up. First, under the Acteva activity section, this just basically shows when the status has changed. So I can see on yesterday I was invited and I opened the invitation. I responded, that is, I opened the page, but I didn't actually complete the registration yesterday, so I wanted to complete it now. So here I see I completed the registration now. So I can just kind of see a real detailed history of the whole invitation process. And here are the answers I just put into the registration page. Like what social media do you use for marketing? Here's Facebook and LinkedIn that I checked on the checklist. Said, what other social media? I put in Google+. How did I hear about this event? Social Medium. And so here again, you can customize, you can make these questions whatever you want. And I think that's one of the key aspects of integrating attendee relationship management with customer relationship management, is in the process of somebody registering for your event, you can find out more about them. And then you can report on that information. And there's also, even though it's a free event, we still put in a $0 transaction, and we can link back to the order if you want to do that. You can click on that. So now, as I indicated earlier, I've allowed plenty of time for questions. So I think I'm ready to take questions now. If you want to learn more about Acteva, this slide shows you Jessica Abbey's contact information. You can contact her for more information about Acteva in general. But now I'd like to turn it back over to Dorina to get questions about the about ActevaRSVP3.
Great. So there are actually just a couple questions. And again, if you have a question or a comment, please go ahead and just type it in, and I'll be happy to ask. We have plenty of time to probably get to everyone's questions. So Teresa has a question. Is there a limit on how many emails can be sent through Acteva for invites?
Is there a limit to emails? Not really. For example, one customer we had mentioned in a previous slide, Center for Global Development, sends out about 9,000 at once. You know, there's not any technical limit to it. You know, if it's, I think we'd like to keep it to 5 figures, but that goes up to 9,999. But we could even do more than that if it's a special case.
Okay, great. And another question from Jennifer is, what happens if an invitee changes his or her information on the registration form? Is it corrected in Salesforce?
Oh, that's a very good question. I'm glad you asked that, Jennifer. It's not corrected in Salesforce. We have Salesforce as a system of record. So if we have a scenario like we had before where an invitee pulls up their information and changes their name or email address, we will create a new lead record for that person in Salesforce. And that way we capture the changed information, and you can decide whether or not to merge that in to to their contact record. Also, I want to add to that some people use ActevaRSVP as a lead generator. That is, they basically set up an empty invitation list and publish the web or do a mass email of the invitation, but don't have a predefined contact list. And so that way, everybody comes in as a lead. So in other words, if somebody's new, a new registrant that's not on the invitee list, we bring them in as a lead as well. Or if somebody invites a friend, that friend comes in the lead as a lead as well, unless they're on the invitee list. Okay?
Great. Another question is there a limit as to how many people I can train in an online class?
Like how many people? I guess that's how many people you could invite to an event. Not really. I don't think there's any real, I think it would be in the tens of thousands, but I don't think there's a real limit to how many people, especially for a class. A class is probably going to be at most hundreds of people, and that's no problem for us at all.
Okay. The next question, Richard, is can Acteva handle conditional questions and responses?
No, it doesn't. It doesn't at this point in time, but I'm glad you asked about that, and I will discuss it with our product management team.
Okay. The next question, is there an easy process for an attendee to get a refund or reschedule for a different event? Good question.
Yes, that's a good question. And I would suggest we can give you more information about that. You could call Jessica about the details of that, but I believe we do provide ways for you as an event organizer to offer refunds. In fact, actually, if you have a paid event, we require that you have a refund policy. And Acteva also provides services to help you with that refund. In fact, we can even issue refunds for you, so you don't have to worry about handling the money at all. But if you want more detail about that, I suggest you call Jessica.
Okay, great. And then we have another question. I'm glad they're coming in. What happens if someone registers who did not receive the invite?
Oh, that's a good question. If someone registers that did not receive the invitation, it depends on whether or not they were on the invitee list. Let's take a couple of scenarios. One is, take a fairly simple one, where Acteva provides an event URL that you can go and publish on your website, for example. Say you do that, you publish your event URL on the website, and somebody who you've never done business with before clicks on that event URL and registers for the event. They will come into your Salesforce as a new lead. And the lead source, by the way, will be Acteva Connector, so you can clearly distinguish that that's an Acteva lead. And we also will honor lead assignment rules as well. And of course, we can work with workflow if you want to go take that approach. Now, another case could be that you invite several people from a single company to the event, and one person, let's say, registers for the event, and then they send their invitation to somebody else who's also on the email list. Okay, if they're also on, they sent it to a coworker who happens to also be on the email list, and maybe saw their coworker's email before they decided they saw the email that originally came in. In that case, that would match up to their original Salesforce record, because their Salesforce contact record, because they were on the email list. And I've been using contacts. Generally, people invite contacts. Sometimes they'll invite leads, but most times people invite contacts to events. Okay?
Okay, great. And then we have another interesting question from Susan. Do you have any recommendations for integrating Acteva with a Joomla or other website page advertising your event and registering from that page in Acteva and then feed Salesforce?
I don't know about Joomla specifically. I know you can take content out of Joomla and put it into your Acteva registration page, but I think that's something where I think we would want to do a discovery process to find out more about what you're trying to do with the content management system, and how you want, what you want to have your content management system do versus what you want to have Acteva do, and versus what you want to have Salesforce to do. And this is an important part of our sales process, if you will. It's really more of a solution process, is that we want to find out exactly who does what when you're combining multiple services at once. It's important to be really clear about that. So that's what we do as part of a discovery process in our own sales cycle.
Okay, excellent. So again, there are a couple more questions, but I just wanted to let everyone know, if you have any questions or comments, go ahead and just type them in. If you have anything specific that you wanted to discuss, feel free to contact Jessica Abbey, and her information is on that slide there, and she'll be happy to show you a demo or answer any of your questions. So the next question from Teresa is, can iframe be used?
Yes. Yeah, if we have customers use iframes within, I'm assuming you're probably talking about within your own website. You can set up an iframe with the event registration built into it. We've had customers do that kind of thing. In fact, we have an implementation services group that does customization like that for you.
Okay, excellent. So actually there are no more questions right now, so we'll just give a couple moments. If anyone has questions, comments, again, go ahead and just type them in. Oh, here's one from Laura. So yes, the webinar is being recorded, and you're going to get an email tomorrow from me with information for you to be able to view the webinar in our archives. And if there aren't any more questions, then I guess we will just conclude the webinar. And thank you all so much for joining. My name is Jarina Stanalnikov with Acteva, and again, you will receive an email from me tomorrow following up on this webinar. Thanks again.
Thank you, everybody.